Well, as you know, my name is JJ, and we're team two, and it's Emily, Brian, Kai, and Andrew. And today we're going to present a cost benefit analysis on McDonald's. So today's McDonald's is one of the world's largest fast food chains with over 39,000 restaurants in more than 100 countries. The company's menu has expanded over the years and is now includes a wide range of items, such as burgers, chicken sandwiches, breakfast items, desserts, etc. And they're also really known for like promoting items and having a McRib and a Shamrock shake. But aside from that, the business model is based on franchising, with over 90% of its restaurants owned and operated by independent franchisees. And for our presentation, we are franchising a traditional 24/7 McDonald's restaurant with a drive-through in San Antonio, Texas. And we plan to have 6 to 8 FTEs on a single shift. And now I'm going to go over, I'm going to pass it on to Emily so we can go over the intangibles.
Yes, thank you, JJ. These are our intangibles. So we would be giving back to the community by supplying jobs, and the average age of the workers at McDonald's are really young, ranging from 18 to 20 years old. So with that young age comes lots of energy, but lack of professionalism. But we get to choose our own employees and operate our own store, which is an advantage. Of course, we would have major support by our franchisor, along with built-in marketing and advertising opportunities. With the close-knit franchise like McDonald's, we feel that the networking opportunities would be a great benefit as well. McDonald's already provides brand awareness and an existing customer base that helps spur revenue, as opposed to the route of small business, where there's more risk associated with that route and no support from another party. The disadvantages of being in a franchise would be that we as a store would have less financial privacy and very limited creative opportunities. With that being said, I will let Andrew tackle our assumptions.
So going down the list in regards to the assumptions, the first two, the product sales and the total cost of sales, these numbers were found off franchise chatter, all of the base, worst, and best case scenarios for these numbers. The initial investment, if you go to the initial cost sheet, that breaks down, if you're able to go to that, Brian, on the initial cost sheet. And these were found off franchise chatter as well. And that breaks down it into more detail. And back to the assumptions.
Yeah, this is something, Andrew, I asked the Dunkin' Donuts because I'm really curious. So when I listen to your case, I'm always thinking, would I actually do this? So go back to your initial costs. Let's look at that, because I'm always thinking risk. So the third item, signs, seating, equipment, and decor, that's a lot of money, 1.3 million. If you change your mind 3 years later, how much of that stuff can you keep, resell? Is that all lost? Is that still, that's a lot of money right there. That's the biggest part. Are you buying, I guess, ovens, and can you, could you sell some of that equipment to another McDonald's? Would McDonald's let you do that?
Yes, it would be, I believe it would just be at a depreciated value.
So that's your stuff. I mean, the sign, even, I guess the sign may cost more to move it than to buy a new one, but that's got to have some value to it. Maybe the only person that would buy it would be another McDonald's franchisor, but if they could get it at half price and it's only 2 years old. So you see where I'm going is on both of these franchises, I don't want to do something that it's going to be a total write-off the 1.9 million if it doesn't work out. But nothing else in that list has any future value to it, right? The rest of it is I mean, the emergency funds, I guess that comes back to you, but the rest of it is just sunk costs that you're going to have. You're not going to get back. But 1.3 million is over half your initial costs, and so you might be able to get half of that back, I would think.
No, yeah, I mean, sorry, just to elaborate, yeah, ideally, like, let's just say, get a new oven, we would just sell it to another franchisee, and then we just, with that money and with the budget we have, we'd just buy like another oven, a new one.
Yeah, so it brings the question, something a future class might do, I hadn't thought about that, is instead of buying this franchise, instead find some 70-year-old who has a McDonald's and see if you can buy theirs intact. And so you'd probably save a big chunk of that. I don't know, that'd be interesting. I wonder if people actually do that, buy a Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's, not set up a new franchise, but buy it from an existing franchisor, and if how much that would save you. So it'd be an interesting cost benefit analysis comparison, wouldn't it, between the two? So, because less risk, right? Because you know what their numbers are, you could see their actual customer base. So they may charge you more because it might be a really good franchise, but at least you'd have more confidence. So, all right, interesting. Y'all keep bringing up stuff that makes it a really interesting case. All right, keep going.
And then back to the assumptions in regards to operating expenses, if you go to the operating expenses sheet. And these numbers were found off the Bloomberg website as well, but they were prices from 2012. And we used the 25% increase to adjust for inflation, and that gets us the 1.77 million number.
Okay.
And then back to the assumptions. So what we did for the worst case and the best case in regards to the operating expenses, we went 5% both ways, pretty conservative in regards, and then that's what gets us the 1.8 and then the 1.6 million. And then the service fee, the 4%, that was found off franchise chatter, and the WAC of 5% was given to us by yourself.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Brian to discuss our base case.
Actually, I'll be talking about the base case.
I'm sorry about that.
All good. So a few things to point out in our base case. All of these numbers come from our assumptions page, except for our percent of capacity. We started that off at 90%, which we thought was a fair number, given that it's McDonald's. It doesn't really matter how customers really look at it. If someone wants McDonald's, they're going to go get McDonald's. And we have that number increasing pretty rapidly up to 100% on our third year. The next thing to note is on our cost of goods as a percent of revenue, which we use for our cost of goods forecast. We got that number by just dividing on our assumptions page the product sales by the total cost of sales. One final thing to note is that in our first 10-year period as a McDonald's, we're making somewhere between $75,000 and $400,000 a year, which brings our discounted payback period to 8.43 years, our internal rate of return to 6.54%, and our net present value at $143,000. Now we'll take it over to our best case, which Brian.
So here's where in Katrina and Jacoby and yeah, I think those two from yesterday in Dunkin' Donuts net was about the same, but with about half the revenue. So it'd be great. I wish we had more time in the semester for your two teams to sit down and figure out, is there a disconnect, or is Dunkin' just that much less expensive to run? But you can see there's a pretty big difference in your net's about the same. So it says, oh, that looks accurate, but then you got to produce twice as much revenue at McDonald's to get to the same net as you get at Dunkin'. So, but a Dunkin's much smaller, but still you would think the income would be much smaller. So it's interesting. Y'all got me really intrigued. I don't know which, you might both be right. You might both be wrong. Who knows? These are tough things to forecast. So, but it is intriguing. Okay.
So for our best case, we still set up the investment after 10 years. Everything the same beside the capacity. And for the revenue at full capacity, we got $2,900,000 for the first year. And after that, multiplied by the inflation, we got all the way up to 3,600,000 at the end of 10 years. And now discount payback for the best case. You get at 7 years is when the discount payback get back to zero. And for the net present value, which is the difference between the inflow and the outflow, it's going to be up by $1 million, more than $1 million. And the IRR rate is 17.27. And the discount payback for the best case is way better than the base case, which at 5.69. And for the worst case, the discount payback not even gonna get to zero, totally zero at the end of 10 years. And for net present value, internal rate of return and discount payback all get rejected because of the bad outcome. So Nick, I'm gonna get to JJ for break even.
All right, thanks, Brian. So for break even, pretty much, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. All right, pretty much for break even, our numbers change at revenue at full capacity, due to our base case percentage, and there we did a what if analysis, and the 99.12% that is shown is, for my assumption, is what percentage of capacity we would need to be running at in order to break even. But aside from that, pretty much all the numbers, if you could see our operating expenses at our first year, will be at 1.7, 0.8, and pretty much, I'm not really sure what else to say about break even.
Well, here's a question. I don't know if Katrina and Jacobo, if y'all remember what your break even was. Wasn't it like 70%?
I believe it was 73% for ours.
Yeah, so does that make sense that you got to be perfect McDonald's on your forecast? For a Dunkin', you have more downside room. So it's y'all see why I'm so intrigued with these two cases, because you're showing a very different story between the two of them. So you're saying there's very little. You better hit your numbers on McDonald's, because you miss it by 1% and you're not gonna make your return. And that's for the 5% discount rate, which is not that aggressive a discount rate. So you better hit your numbers by 1% or you're gonna make less than 5%. And that's, I can find other places invest money and make 5%. That's not as much stress as a McDonald's. So, it's interesting. When I remember y'all first showed it to me, I said, there's no way 99 is the right number. That just seemed way too high. But yeah, everything you had was set up correctly. It's just really that sensitive. All right, good.
Did you have any questions for us?
What's your final recommendation?
Yes.
Personally, at least from what we received from our feedback, I believe that it's very interesting, like you said, because that it's such a small margin, it's very sensitive. So if I would recommend it personally, not, but like you were saying earlier, it seems pretty crazy how it's such a small margin.
What I asked the Dunkin' team, and I ask y'all the same thing, because I'm intrigued. If I were a 22-year-old, let's say I had a rich uncle, a rich aunt, and I go to them and I say, hey, you know what? I just got out of college. I got all these skills. Why don't you, if you'll go in with me on a McDonald's or a Dunkin' Donuts, let's start one. I'll run it. I'll take care of it. You can pay me the manager salary, so we don't have to pay a manager. Once we get it up and running, we'll use the money from that to buy others. I'll put more of my money into it. And after maybe, let's say after 5 years, you have 10 of these things, or after 10 years, so 10 of them, That's a $3 million a year salary. Sounds like a pretty good life. You would certainly be really good at this. You might not just do McDonald's, you might try some others. Does that sound enticing to any of you college students, or you rather go to the corporate side where it's nice and safe every day?
I think looking at this, it makes more sense. And I mean, people who do franchise McDonald's, they don't have a single one. They have multiple stores, and I think it makes more sense buying into more stores from the beginning as compared to just a single store.
That sound like a good career for you, Andrew? Or are you just not interested in the franchise world? And anybody on your team? I'm not saying you have to do it if you say you'd be interested, but anyone say, you know, that might actually be a pretty decent life.
Franchising is a good business. I just personally do not eat at McDonald's, so it would have to be a different chain.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be interested in franchising, but it is a very expensive, you know, you have to have a lot of assets to do this.
I would prefer the corporate.
All right, now just notice something in your spreadsheet that might be an error. So Brian, go to C12. Why is C13 empty? Did y'all forget to copy that down one? Are you just going, yeah, copy that down one, because that might change your break even quite dramatically. Now go to your net present value and let's see what it's calculating on. Are you going out 10 years on your net present value or just 9?
Oh, we're only doing 9.
Okay. All right. So okay. So 9, you know, for break even, 9 is, you know, you went 9 on the base case too, so they're all 9.
Yeah, everything but the worst case.
I mean, that may be part of the issue because 9 is kind of a standard kind of you know, if your payback was 11, 12 years, I mean, this is a $2 million investment. To think that you can get all your money back in 9 years on a $2 million investment is, you know, a pretty aggressive assumption. So maybe McDonald's, because it's so expensive, you gotta be in for the longer term versus a Dunkin' Donuts. So, all right, one reasonability check I like to do based on your numbers. So y'all tell me what y'all think here. So I did $2.8 million revenue. Let's say the average ticket is $15. I don't know if you have any idea what the average McDonald's ticket might be. Do you have any clue on that? Does 15 sound too high? I'm not talking a family of 5, but I mean a family of 5, each one would spend about $15. I haven't been to McDonald's in a long time, so I don't know.
I think 10 would be a little bit better.
And okay.
Yes, I would say 10.
So 2.8 million divided by $10 divided by 365 days. That gives you about 780 customers a day. Does that seem reasonable? 780 customers, you divide that by say 12 hours. That's 64 customers an hour. So that's about a customer a minute. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds about right for McDonald's.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too. And McDonald's, you know, for Dunkin', maybe not, because the Dunkin' has some pretty good slow periods. I don't think McDonald's really have slow periods. They're pretty well packed. And during the busy day, it's probably a customer every 30 seconds or so, because you got several registers going, and you're probably getting, you know, you're probably doing more than that. In the slow period, maybe it's one every 2 minutes or so. So yeah, your revenue number seems reasonable to me. It doesn't seem outlandish. So, Katrina, how far out did y'all go when you did your break even? Was it 10 years?
Yes, we also went 10 years.
So they went 9, you went 10. So that may be part of it. I don't know how much the break even changes if you go 10 years instead of 9. That might be pretty material. So, so that might explain some of it. You're still making a much higher margin on Dunkin' than you are McDonald's, just looking at the numbers. So, let's see, what other questions? Some of them redundant with the Dunkin' questions, so I don't know if I want to repeat those, but
I also had a question real quick for the team.
right.
I know for Dunkin', whenever we were researching our store, we had different kind of like types because we based ours on a freestanding Dunkin' Donuts, but there's also like ones at strip malls, convenience stores. Did y'all also kind of look at that with McDonald's as well? Did you have different formats?
Yes, but we based our model off of the traditional like square footage and with a drive-through, as well as like a 24-hour operation.
Yeah, that's a good point, Katrina. So if you think about that, if I were doing this, I would probably spend quite a bit of time researching. Like one thing is, I don't know how much that playground equipment costs. Let's say that it's $250,000, but then you got to build the extra room for it. What numbers, how many more customers do you think you get with the playground versus not having a playground? That'd be pretty important, wouldn't it? And you'd almost do a cost benefit just on the playground. Do you think there's parents that go to McDonald's just so they can lose their kids for 30 minutes and
Yeah,
hope they
probably.
don't kill each other? And could you actually figure that out? So yeah, you know what? There's when you do McDonald's, there's more than one option, and some of those McDonald's have pretty massive playground areas. All right. Are any of y'all management majors on your team?
Yeah, I'm a management major.
So what do you think about managing in McDonald's employees? Does that sound like a nightmare headache, or it sounds like something pretty fun to try to develop young people?
I mean, it depends on what type of people I get to. Like I said, we do choose our employees, so I think it sounds like a fun idea. But you know, like I said, it would depend on what area I'm in and what type of people I'm receiving.
I talked to an owner of a Chick-fil-A, and I think I told you I was amazed at how much time he put into hiring. For that very reason, it's like it's worth it to spend an extra few hours on the front end to get a good employee. And right now it's tough to get employees in this industry, so that might be a major hassle. That might be something I can't remember on you talked about employment.
Yes, I did. Just about how our workforce at McDonald's would be super young, like the average ages that McDonald's workers like come in. So they are pretty young, but they have like a lot of energy. So that could be like a good benefit for like output. But along with being young, there is like a sense of like unprofessionalism.
Yeah, and then hiring a manager. You're only paying the manager what, about $50,000 a year. So y'all, you hoping you're gonna get a job that pays more than that, but I don't know if McDonald's hires college graduates for their management or if they hiring. I think a lot of times they hire seasoned employees that have proven themselves, and even though they may not have a college degree, they'll promote them to manager. Okay, I don't think I have other questions. Y'all, Jacobo, Ariana, Katrina, y'all have any more questions?
I don't think I got any at this time.
I don't have any either.
I don't believe I have any either.
All right, well, y'all got me intrigued. I don't think you've answered my conundrum between Dunkin' and McDonald's. I think y'all could probably resolve it. We had another few weeks in the semester, but it's intriguing. So, all right, so you're the last team, so I'll try to get everything wrapped up and send something out later today. So, all right, thanks for your time.